Most NFL teams suffer through their craft and try to improve themselves. That they're synonymous with losing and all that. Take the Buffalo Bills and the Minnesota Vikings, four-time Super Bowl losers without even lifting the trophy. The Patriots have lost four times in a Super Bowl, but have won six of their own, so no harm, no foul. Then you got yourselves the Cleveland Browns and the Detroit Lions. Great teams with long team histories that people will be jealous of. But where are the championships? Where is the Super Bowl appearance? Not even close. Cleveland had the suffering in the late 80s of making three AFC title games in 4 years, losing all three times to the team that I'm going to be describing about. And also the fact the Lions have been to a few NFC title games but have failed miserably. So let's take a look at the Denver Broncos. They've lost 5 Super Bowls, the most by any franchise in history, but they won 2. Could they have won a third, or they could have won one for Elway? This is the story about how the 1996 Denver Broncos faltered, and how the fact of the matter was that this loss actually led to a lot of wholesale changes. So get ready. I said, are you ready? Are you ready for some Cutter What If NFL football? A weekend invasion! Yeah, it's Cutter talking to you live. We got the hits and the misses. So come join me for all the fun. All the rowdy friends come in. It's the weekend, y'all. Are you ready? Yeah, let's do this, baby. Yes. So the Denver Broncos were a member of the AFL. People forget because when you think AFL, you think of the Bills, the Raiders, the Jets, and the Chiefs, among others, and the Chargers and the Oilers. But yeah, the Denver Broncos were in the AFL and bringing football to the Western United States in a sense. So Denver didn't really do that well in the AFL. They didn't really have any memorable games in the AFL. They had memorable players, but not memorable games. The Broncos were admitted to the NFL in 1970 alongside the whole AFL. Denver would be up and down, but then when they got Craig Morton in a trade with the Giants in the mid 70s, Denver looked good, and they had the Orange Crush defense with Lyle Alcedo, Randy Gradishar, and a few other people, including ESPN NFL Countdown mainstay Tom Jackson. The Broncos would be the best team in the 77-78 season in the AFC, host the AFC title game, and beat the Oakland Raiders for the title and the trip to Super Bowl 12. Of course, it was controversial because of the fact that the Raiders thought that Rob Lidle had fumbled at the 1 yard line, and the Raiders picked it up for a scoop and score. But then were told no, he was down short. But he fumbled the ball, and of course, no instant replay. So the Denver Broncos got lucky and all that. But Super Bowl 12, people said they got their comeuppance. Although it was basically Roger Staubach for Dallas against his former backup quarterback Craig Morton and the Broncos. Morton sucked in that Super Bowl. Broncos would be decent, but by 1983 they weren't doing good. But Denver made a massive move to make a trade with the Baltimore Colts and get their #1 draft pick in 1983, which the Colts drafted John Elway. Denver says, we need a quarterback. We'll give you a massive deal. And so they gave Baltimore some players and draft picks, and it didn't work. Baltimore, the next season, would move to Indy. But the Broncos started getting better. John Elway proved to be a good quarterback. They had some good wide receivers stuff. They had a good defense. They didn't really have a good running back and all that, and that suffered. It would show us the Broncos would lose Super Bowl 21 to the Giants, but then Super Bowl 22, well, on the strength of the drive against the Browns. Super Bowl 22 on the strength of the fumble, of Binder's fumble, which Randy Lilly managed to get Binder the fumble on. The Broncos would face the Washington Redskins. Of course, I'm saying Washington's nickname as it was. The Broncos were up 10-0, and it looked good, but the Redskins scored 35 points in the second quarter, 5 touchdowns, and the game was over 42-10. Washington wins. Till Super Bowl 51, this was the largest deficit by a team had come back from in the Super Bowl. The Broncos would then beat Cleveland again for the AFC title game. No controversial plays, no named plays. They would face the Niners and get their asses handed to them 55-10 in the worst Super Bowl blow of all time. The Broncos would try their best. In the mid-90s, they were there. We talked about the 96 team, and then in essence, I'll talk about how the 96 failure actually helped Denver out later on. Denver would wallow in the 2000s. They choked a couple of division titles on the final day of the season. And then in 2015-16, on the strength of Peyton Manning, who was playing for his, third season with the Broncos, the Broncos went to the Super Bowl and took on the Carolina Panthers, who were 15-1, and the last team I did in this series. And the Panthers ended up winning the game. Yeah, right. The Broncos would then score a gigantic win, get the Super Bowl. Of course, that win made up for what happened 2 years prior when they went to the Super Bowl and got their asses handed to them 43-8. In fact, the first scoring play was a safety, which was unusual. Nevertheless, the Broncos keep trying to make it to the playoffs. They made the playoffs on the final day of the 2024-25 season. Bo Nix has been pretty good. He's not the rookie of the year. That was Jaden Daniels, but for good reason. But nevertheless, the Broncos are a good franchise. Gotta give them time. So let's talk about the 96 Broncos. All right, so let's talk about the 96 Broncos. Why don't we? The 96 Broncos were the 27th season in the NFL, the 37th overall, and the second under Mike Shanahan. Broncos were 8-8, pedestrian, and then put up 13 wins, winning the AFC West for the first time in 5 years and being the top team in the AFC. And then in the divisional round, they fell to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were the top seeded team, and everyone thought that they were going to win the Super Bowl and help the AFC win their first title since 1984, when the Raiders did it. In the NFL draft, the Broncos got John Mobley, a linebacker from Kutztown, a small college. All that. Other than that, they didn't really do too much. Their staff, John Beek, the GM, Mike Shanahan, the head coach. The Broncos roster, Jevo and Elway was the lead guy with Musgrave and Lewis as backups. Aaron Craver, good fullback. Terrell Davis was a good running back. Von Hebron was the kick returner. Wide receivers, Todd Kinchin, Ed McCaffrey, Anthony Miller, where they picked up from the Chargers. Rod Smith, who was the main punt returner, but was a good wide receiver. Shannon Sharp, the mouth, a tight end with Dwayne Carswell backing him up. Offensive lineman, David Diaz, Invante, Brian Habib, Tom Nealon, Mark Schleif, Broderick Thompson, and Gary Zimmerman, among others. Defensive lineman, Mark Campbell, Harold Hasselbeck, Michael Dean Perry, former Browns icon, Matt Tanafusa, and Alfred Williams. Linebackers, main ones, Glenn Cadres, John Mobley, and Bill Romanowski. Defensive back, Steve Waller from Arkansas. Tyrone Broxton, Ray Crockett, Randy Hilliard, Torrey James even there. Jason Elam, Tom Rubin, your special teams. In the regular season, they fell in Kansas City, they fell in Green Bay, and they fell in San Diego. Their 3 losses were on the road. They won every game at home. They were 13-3. The Chiefs were second at 9-7, but did not make the playoffs, especially when you lose 3 straight. The 97 playoffs saw Jacksonville. They didn't play Jacksonville. This was the game in which Jacksonville beat Buffalo by a score of 30-27 in Buffalo in the wildcard round, and then they would face the Broncos. The Broncos would be up 12-0, and it looked pretty good until Mark Brunell led the Jaguars on a few runs and all that. They did their job. Let's take a closer look. Yep. Big information. Dick Enberg and Phil Simms doing the game at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. The Broncos, the Jaguars actually won their last 5 games, and they needed Morton Anderson to miss a field goal. As the Broncos were up 12-0, thanks to Hebron getting a touchdown run, they missed the extra point. But then the Broncos went for two after Elway passed the Shen Sharp for a touchdown, missed. Jacksonville would score 13 points in the second quarter as Hollis hit a field goal. Natron Means ran a touchdown. Hollis another field goal, make it 13-12. Brunel passed to McCardle for a touchdown, and then Brunel used his legs. In a sense, Terrell Davis did get a touchdown run and 2-point conversion to make it 23-20. Brunel to Smith for a touchdown, Elway to McCaffrey, but it was over and all that. So the Broncos could do all that, but yeah, that's just what happened and all that. Mark Brunel had that 29-yard run and it helped it and all that. Brunel shocked everyone and all that. So the game was called Ambush at Mile High. And in desperation, the Broncos and the Jaguars. This would be the first postseason meeting between the Broncos and Jaguars. I don't know if it's the last. Nevertheless, the Jaguars won the game 30-27. Broncos were upset. The Jags were going to lose to the Patriots in the AFC title game. And a lot of people will be probably thinking I'm going to do the 96-97 Jaguars as my what if. Technically, I could, but there was one Jacksonville team that didn't make the Super Bowl that I needed to put. Anyway, this was the last time the Broncos wore their orange crush jerseys. They decided to go with a blue top with orange siding and all that stuff. They changed the helmet from the D with the horse to just the horse, flaming horse, if you will. And the Broncos made wholesale changes in a sense. And that strangely helped the Broncos win the next two Super Bowls. So could they have three-peated? I don't know. But anyway, let's take a look at the 96 Broncos did it in the AFC title game. Normally, you probably would think that I'm just going to talk about the team and, put the 96 Broncos in the Super Bowl. The what if they made the Super Bowl. But the rule of thumb, of course, is that what if they play in the next round? Could they have beaten the 11-5 New England Patriots? This time, the Broncos would have had home field advantage. The temperature's at 35, which was kind of what it was for the game against Jacksonville. Yeah, of course. And people forget to talk about the Jaguars thing. That one Denver paper called them the Jacksonville Jaguars. And practically the newspaper kind of fired up the Jaguars. So let's see. The Broncos would face the New England Patriots. What the Broncos have won. So anyway, the Patriots had the ball first. Broncos would score a 7-play, 55-yard a touchdown by TD Terrell Davis, 17 yards. Then the Patriots tie the game on a Curtis Martin touchdown run. Yes, he was a Patriot at one time. They make it 7-7. In the second quarter, the Broncos would score a touchdown after Elway hit McCaffrey for a 25-yard touchdown. Make it 14-7. And then the Broncos make a big play. 1st and 10 at the Patriots 42. Hebron gets a touchdown to make it 20-7. The Patriots had an encroachment. Broncos could have won for 2 because the ball was at the 1, but they would go for the extra point and make it 21-7. Bill Ronowski picks off Bledsoe. Hebron got stripped at the line of scrimmage. The Pats thought they were doing quite well and all that, killing the clock, but they couldn't do anything. Lloyd Malloy picked off an Elway pass. Martin ran for 3 yards, and then with 3 seconds left, they called timeout, and Vinatieri hits a 42-yard field goal to make it 21-10 Broncos at the half. Third quarter. So the Broncos start first after some punts. Denver goes 11 plays, 73 yards, only for them to have to go for a field goal attempt, which Elway puts through. Elam puts through the uprights 24-10. Vinatieri would kick a field goal to make it 24-13. On to the fourth. Patriots score a touchdown on a punt return for a touchdown, of all things. They go for 2, and Kumart makes the catch in the end zone. We are at 24-21. The Broncos would punt. Elway would then throw a pass to interception to Willie Clay with 6 minutes left. They go for 3 plays. They couldn't do much. And then they go for a 33-yard field goal, which they got in. So it was 24-24. Broncos, by the 2-minute warning, they had 2nd and 9 at the Patriots 12. The Pats would have 2 encroachment penalties to make it 1st and goal at the 3. Elway gets out of bounds at the 1, and then TD runs a touchdown. So with a minute 40 left, things were looking good. The Patriots had a 4th and 8 at the Broncos 48 with a minute 19 left. But Bledsoe hits Terry Glenn, who gets outside for 9 yards. They get a 1st and goal at the 5. They call timeout to set up a play. Vernon carries but gets sacked for 2-yard loss. Bledsoe spikes the ball, so it's 3rd and goal. Bledsoe overthrows Megan in the end zone. And then on 4th and goal, he finds Sean Jefferson in the end zone, ties the game 31-31. And then they go to overtime, which the Broncos get and all that. Unfortunately, they could only get to the Patriots 43 with a kick. The Patriots could only get to the 41. They went for a 58-yard field goal for Vinatieri in the mile-high air and missed wide right. The 96 Broncos punt. New England gets another field goal attempt by Vinatieri. Goes wide right, 54 yards. That ties it. Broncos just couldn't do it, and that's it. 31-31 in overtime. Now comes the hard part. What do you do? 31-31. They did go through overtime. Do I give the Broncos the pass to the championship, or do I have to give the Patriots? That's the question. Terrell Davis was named player of the game, so I think that because Terrell Davis was named player of the game, that should be the Patriot. Then the Broncos should move on. And I think I will probably do that. Now you see the scoring play and all that, 31-31. It did go to overtime. Patriots 7 for 21 on 3rd down, 2 for 2 on 4th downs. Broncos 9 for 18 on 3rd down, no 4th down attempts. Rushing yards, Broncos beat the Pats 199-115 and narrowly beat them in passing yards. The Patriots was punt return touchdown. Kumar 88 yards and a touchdown for the Pats. TD 132 and 2 touchdowns. Von Hebron even got a touchdown. Terry Glenn 124 receiving. Bledsoe 18 for 32, touchdown and a pick. Elway 18 for 28, 239, a touchdown, 2 picks. We have Clay and Malloy picking up interceptions for New England and Denver Romanowski. Yeah, Elam made from 38. Vinatieri from 42, 33, but missed from 58 and 54. So now comes the hard part. But because I think that the Broncos would have won anyhow, yeah, and Terrell Davis was player of the game. If the player of the game was not Terrell Davis, then I probably would have went with the Patriots. But I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. So anyway, let's play the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And in the end, we do have a 38-31 score. Anyway, first quarter, the Broncos get the ball first, and on a 9-play, 74-yard touchdown play, Elway to Anthony Miller in the end zone, extra points, they ball, 7-0. Green Bay scored a touchdown. They were actually pushed back 5 yards on a false start call, but Edgar Bennett from 33 yards scores the touchdown, ties the game at 7. In the second quarter, a few plays into the second quarter, Denver scores a touchdown. Shannon Sharp gets a touchdown pass from Elway, makes it 14-7. And the Packers, on the ensuing play, 12 plays, 75 yards. They get a touchdown, Favre to Freeman, to tie the game at 14. Then the Broncos, on their next possession, 5 plays, 53 yards, thanks to a face mask call. Elway passes to Rod Smith for a touchdown, 42 yards, makes it 21-14. Favre gets picked up by Milano Washington. The Broncos hold on. Third quarter. Chris Jockey, first scrimmage from the third quarter. He goes 49 yards up the middle for a field goal, 21-17. But then Elway puts up a 30-yard field goal of his own to make it 24-17. And then late in the third quarter, on a 3rd and goal with 54 seconds left, Travis Jervey hit a draw play touchdown. Extra point good. We are tied at 24. On to the fourth. When Denver scores a touchdown with 11 minutes left. Davis gets a 20-yard play. And an extra point is good to make it 31-24. The Packers would score a touchdown in the middle of the fourth quarter, 6 plays, 58-yard drive. Favre to Brooks for a touchdown, 31-31. And then after the Broncos get the ball back, they actually make a great kick return to the 7. I think that's Desmond Howard. Elway tries to throw a touchdown. McCaffrey fails, but then TD pounds ahead for 7 yards and kicks the extra point, 38-31. The Packers would go for a long drive on 4th and 2 at the Broncos 19, which they had to go for it because the field goal does nothing. The ball was patted down. Elway takes a couple knees, and the Denver Broncos win 38-31. They would have broken the AFC's losing streak and given John Elway that title 1 year early. So this one's for John. Terrell Davis named player of the game. You see the scoring plays and all that. A lot of scoring. Denver won the game 38-31. 6 for 11 on third down. Packers 8 for 14. Missed the fourth down attempt. Broncos 209 running to 196. Passing yards, Packers 246, 195. TD did go for 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. Edgar Bennett, 107 yards himself for a touchdown. Receiving, Freeman 117 receiving and a touchdown. 15 for 23, 246. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. John Elway 15 for 21, 85. No, I watched him with a pick. I don't know. Elam made from 30, missed from 39 late, and then Jackie made from 49. So the Broncos would have won the Super Bowl, done their job, and maybe the Packers would have been out for blood the next year. And maybe the Broncos would only have 4 World Series, would have 3 titles instead of, no, 4 titles instead of 3. I'm just talking too much. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.